Quine used to say about assent, a thing that was parallel to the thing that I stuck you with about holding true.
Right.
And then said, well, no, actually assent, identification of behavior that's indicative of assent, is an analytical hypothesis. That's technical Quinean, I think, for what translates into your way of thinking of things as something like identification of behavior as indicative of holding true is part of the holistically arrived at way of making sense of the person. It isn't prior to the making sense of the person, it's part of the making sense of the person.
Right.
So it's not strictly right to say we can know that a person holds a sentence true, know that, and then proceed from there, find out in what circumstances he holds this sentence true, formulate a belief about truth conditions of this sentence, and then see how you can make that hook together with other sentences.
Right.
The identification of whatever it is, nodding or something of that sort, as indicative of holding true, has to be seen as provisional, depending on whether it pans out when you get on into the holistically interconnected.
Yeah, that has always
total making sense of the person.
That's always been my view.
Okay,
that
good.
Is, I've never thought that Quine's prompted assent or my holding true or whatever was behavioristically definable in the old-fashioned sense in which you'd say use no mental concepts. I've never thought it was reducible, and therefore it's something that you could know about somebody. I mean, just that they took a sentence to be true, you couldn't know that unless you knew a great deal about them. But I've always thought that. And in fact, I think by the time I was even thinking along these lines, I already knew what Quine's answer was, and had accepted it. It's roughly, as you say, you guess. Maybe this indicates this attitude. I know what the attitude is. I don't know whether he is exhibiting it or she is at this point. So I see whether or not this fits in with a very elaborate edifice that one can sketch as just a way of asking oneself as a philosopher, what kind of a pattern do the propositional attitudes like belief and meaning something by what you say, desire, intention, how are they related to each other, and what are the rational connections between various thoughts and acting in a certain way, and so forth. Well, I know that if this person is thinking roughly this kind of a pattern must be there. I'm looking for it, and I have to start somehow. If I can sketch one possible way of getting into it, then this throws a little light on how it's possible that we do it. It's not that I think that is how we do it, because I don't think that. I think we come equipped to be able to do it. But nevertheless, even if you say that, if you say we come equipped for it, it still is mysterious how the input that we get fills out the capacity, so to speak, and this kind of contrived story, which certainly all of the talk about radical interpretation is just meant to explore the relations between the various kinds of attitudes that people have and their behavior, and suggest why there is a pattern of a sort which one could grasp from the outside. I mean, how do we know other minds? Well, this is meant to show, of course, it's possible, because this is the kind of a pattern that a mind has.
That's wonderful. I mean, that strikes me as exactly right, and exactly what you should say. And I think I've misread things that you have said about holding true in the past.
Well, it's probably my fault.
Let me pick you up on phrase you just used, a pattern which we can grasp from the outside. I think all you meant, I mean, in the context, was interpretation is doable. I mean, if such a pattern is found, it's found by an outsider.
Right.
You didn't mean, I take it, to say something that would preclude me, say, from saying, now look, when the pattern is grasped by the outsider, since what the outsider has thereby succeeded in doing is making sense of this here subject, there's a sense in which the outsider has come to see how the subject sees things from the inside. Success in radical interpretation, which is just finding a pattern that makes sense, enables you to be reassured that you have indeed located an intelligible, rational outlook on the world here.
Yes.
So from which you can, as it were, see, well, now I see how things...
it's a very old-fashioned idea. Right. You understand the things that a person says and wants and does, only if you've internalized his view to the extent where you can say, I see that if I believed that and I wanted that, that's the kind of thing I would